What if I told you that the person you believe yourself to be, your fears, your doubts, the voice that tells you that you are not enough, was decided before you ever spoke your first word? Sit with that for a moment. You are here tonight because something happened. Maybe it was a comment someone made, something small, something no one else would have noticed. But it landed in your chest, like a stone dropping into still water, and the ripples have not stopped. And now you are lying in the dark, or sitting alone in a quiet room, and you are asking the question you have asked 1,000 times before. What is wrong with me? Why do I keep ending up here? Why does everything I try to change eventually circle back to the same place? I want you to hear something, and I want you to hear it clearly. There is nothing wrong with you, nothing. What you are feeling tonight, the weight, the confusion, the exhaustion of fighting patterns you did not choose, all of it has a cause, and that cause is not your failure, it is not your weakness. It is not proof that you are broken beyond repair. And if hearing that brings something up in you right now, if your eyes are stinging, or your throat feels tight, it is okay. You are allowed to feel what you are feeling. You do not need to hold it together right now, not here, not with me. You were programmed before you could walk, before you could speak, before you had any say in the matter at all. And tonight, I am going to show you exactly how it happened, why no one told you, and what changes the moment you finally see it. Let me describe something to you, and I want you to tell me if it sounds familiar. You have tried to change, truly tried. You have read the books, you have written in journals. You have repeated affirmations in front of the mirror, feeling a little foolish but hoping that this time the words would stick. You have started therapy. You have promised yourself on Sunday nights that this week would be different. And maybe for a few days it was. Maybe for a few weeks you felt like you were turning a corner. But then, quietly, without announcement, the old pattern returned. The familiar tightness in the chest, the withdrawal, the numbness, the voice. You know the voice I mean. The one that says you are not quite enough, not quite smart enough, not quite lovable enough, not quite ready. That voice has been with you for so long that you have forgotten it is even a voice. It feels like fact, it feels like you, but it is not you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the way you handle conflict, the way you respond to love, the way you relate to money, to success, to your own reflection, have you ever noticed how much it resembles someone who raised you? Not because you chose to copy them, but because you never had a choice at all. You have been running a program, and you did not write a single line of it. Here is what no one explained to you. And if you hear nothing else tonight, hear this. There is something that scientists discovered about the minds of children that the ancient sages already knew thousands of years ago. From the moment a child is born until roughly the age of 7, the human brain operates primarily in what is called the theta wave state. Now, you may know theta as the brainwave of light hypnosis, of deep meditation, of dreaming. It is the state in which the mind is completely open, no filters, no critical thinking, no ability to say, I reject this, or that does not apply to me. Just pure, unquestioning absorption. Does this make sense? Think about what this means. For the first 7 years of your life, you were walking around in a state of open hypnosis. Every single thing that happened around you went directly into the deepest layers of your subconscious mind. Not as a memory you could examine later, as a program, an operating instruction, a rule about how reality works. Your mother's anxiety about money did not stay with your mother. It became your anxiety. Your father's belief that love must be earned did not remain his philosophy. It became yours. The argument they had at the dinner table when you were 4, the one they think you do not remember, it is still running in your nervous system right now, not as a story, as a sensation, as a flinch you cannot explain, as a tightness in your chest when someone raises their voice, even gently, even in kindness. You did not learn what your parents taught you. You learned what your parents were, the way soil absorbs rain, silently, completely, without choosing what to keep and what to let pass through. The ancient yogis had a word for these impressions. They called them samskaras. Think of it this way: grooves carved into the mind by repeated experience. Like water flowing over stone, the same patterns cut deeper and deeper channels until the water, your thoughts, your reactions, your beliefs about yourself can flow nowhere else. You do not think your way into these patterns. You fall into them, the way a river falls into its bed, because the bed was carved before you arrived. The Buddhists spoke of something similar. They called it conditioned arising, the teaching that nothing in the mind arises from nothing. Every fear you carry has a seed, every belief has a planting, and most of those seeds were placed in soil you did not choose, by hands that did not know what they were planting. You have felt this, haven't you? That sense that you are reacting to something deeper than the moment, that your responses are older than your reasons. Let me tell you a story. There was once a master carpenter who lived in a small village at the foot of a mountain. He was known across the region for his craft, every joint precise, every surface smooth. He built tables, chairs, bed frames, window shutters, and everything he built was square, clean lines, sharp corners. That was his way. He had a son, and the boy grew up in that workshop the way a fish grows up in water, surrounded by sawdust and the sound of hand planes and the smell of cedar. He watched his father measure twice and cut once. He watched his father reject any board with the slightest warp. He watched his father build, always in straight lines and right angles. And the boy absorbed it all without knowing he was absorbing anything at all. That is how it works with children. They do not learn what you teach them. They learn what you are. When the boy was still young, the father died, and the son, who loved his father deeply, stepped into the workshop and continued. He picked up his father's tools. He used his father's patterns. He built his father's designs, and he built them well. The village praised him. They said he has his father's hands. They said he has his father's eye. And the son felt proud because he believed he was honoring something sacred. Years passed, many years, and one evening a traveler came through the village and stopped to admire the carpenter's work. She watched him for a long time, and then she asked a question so simple it almost sounded foolish. She said, "Tell me something, why do you only build square tables?" The carpenter looked at her the way you would look at someone who asked why water is wet. He said, "Because that is how tables are made." And the traveler smiled. She said, "No. That is how your father made tables. Have you ever once asked yourself how you would make one?" The carpenter opened his mouth to answer, and nothing came out, because in that single moment something cracked open inside him. He looked around the workshop, really looked, for the first time. His father's templates hanging on the wall, his father's measurements penciled onto the beams, his father's tools worn smooth into grooves that fit his father's hands, not his own. Every single thing in that room had been inherited. Every method, every design, every definition of what a table should be, of what good craftsmanship looked like. All of it belonged to someone who was no longer alive. He had not made a single original choice in his entire career, not one. And the most painful part was this. He had been so good at building from his father's blueprints that no one, not even himself, had ever thought to question it. That night, after the traveler left, the son sat alone in the workshop for a very long time. He did not cry, he did not rage, he simply sat with the enormous, quiet weight of what he had seen. And then, slowly, he reached for a piece of wood that had no markings, no template assigned to it, no purpose yet decided. He turned it over in his hands. And for the first time in his life, he did not ask, "How would my father build this?" He asked, "What does this want to become?" He did not build anything that night. He did not need to. The asking was enough. Everything changed in the question. This story is not about a carpenter. You know that. This story is about you. Because you have been building your life from inherited templates. And you have been doing it so well, so faithfully, that you may never have stopped to notice that the blueprints are not yours. I want you to do something with me now, something quiet, something that may be more important than anything else you do today. Think of something you believe about money. Not what you say you believe, not the version you tell other people, what you feel in your body when a large bill arrives, when someone offers you a generous opportunity, when you see someone living a life that costs more than yours. What is the first sensation, the first thought that arises before you can edit it? Now ask yourself, whose voice first said that? Was it yours, or did it belong to someone who was in the room when you were very small? Take a moment with that. There is no rush. Now think about what you believe love is, not the romantic idea, the deep, gut-level belief. Do you believe love must be earned? That it is conditional? That it can be taken away at any moment if you make a wrong move? That it always hurts eventually? Where did you learn that? Who showed you? And the hardest one, what do you believe about yourself when you are alone, when no one is watching, when the performance stops and the world goes quiet? What does the voice say then? And whose voice is it, really? If you felt something just now, a sadness, a recognition, maybe even anger, do not push it away. That is not weakness. That is the sound of something true finally being spoken aloud. Stay with it. It will not hurt you. It is trying to show you something you have needed to see for a very long time. When an elephant is young, they tie its leg with a thin rope to a small wooden stake. The baby pulls and pulls but cannot break free. So it learns, I cannot escape this. Years later, the elephant is enormous. Thousands of pounds of pure strength. It could snap that rope without effort, but it never tries, because the lesson was written when it was small, and it was never rewritten. How many ropes are you still obeying that you could snap in an instant if only you knew they had no power over you anymore? You are not that child. You are not small. You are not helpless. But the program still says you are, and you have been believing it. Here is something I want you to consider. What you call your deepest flaw, that thing you have been trying to fix or hide or overcome for as long as you can remember, that is not a flaw at all. It is a survival strategy, one that a very young child created to stay safe in a world they could not control. It was brilliant then. It kept you alive. It kept you loved, or at least not abandoned. But it is simply no longer needed now. You are not that child in that house anymore. And the strategy that once protected you has become the very thing that holds you back. Isn't it so? And the ones who tied the rope, they were not your enemies. They were elephants once too, tied with their own ropes, passing down the only thing they knew. I want you to understand something about blame, because this is where people get lost. This is not about blaming your parents. It is not about calling them to account for what they did wrong. Your parents were running their own programs, programs they inherited from their parents, who inherited them from their parents. This chain goes back generations, centuries. No one in the chain was the original author. Everyone was a copy of a copy of a copy. Your mother did not sit down one day and decide to install anxiety in you. She was anxious, and you absorbed her anxiety the way you absorbed her language and her gestures and her way of moving through the world. Your father did not choose to teach you that emotions are dangerous. He was taught the same thing by a man who was taught by another man who was taught by another. The programs pass from generation to generation like water pouring from one vessel into the next, and no one spills a drop because no one knows they are pouring. You do not need to forgive your parents for this, because there is nothing to forgive. They gave you what they had. They could not give you what they did not have, but you do need to see it clearly, without flinching, because the moment you see the program as a program and not as truth, something extraordinary happens. It loses its authority over you. There is a question in the Zen tradition that has been asked for over 1,000 years. A teacher looks at the student and says, "Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born." This is not a riddle. This is an invitation. Who are you underneath the programming? Before the beliefs were installed, before the fears were downloaded, before anyone told you who you were supposed to be, there is something there, something that was never programmed, something that is listening right now as I speak these words, something that has always been listening. That awareness, the part of you that can observe the thought without becoming it, the part that can watch the fear without drowning in it, the part that noticed just now when I described the carpenter's son and felt a quiet shock of recognition, that is who you truly are. The ancient yogis called this the Sakshi, the witness, the one who watches thoughts arise and does not say, "I am afraid," but rather, "Ah, fear is here." The one who hears the old voice say, "You are not enough," and instead of collapsing, simply notices. There is that program again. It is running. I see it. And in the seeing, something shifts. Because a program that is observed is no longer running you. You are running it. Do you understand the difference? It is everything. This is the most important distinction you will ever learn. There is a difference between being inside a program and seeing a program. A fish cannot see the water. It cannot examine the water. It cannot choose to swim in different water, because the water is everything. It is the entire world. But the moment you see the water, truly see it, you are no longer only a fish, and you are seeing it right now, in this very moment. That is what is happening to you tonight. So, what do you do with this? Where do you go from here? Let me offer you 3 things, not steps, not a system, just 3 gentle movements of the awakening that is already underway in you. The first is this: notice the voice. The next time you hear the inner critic, the doubter, the one who tells you what you cannot have and who you cannot be, pause, just pause, and ask one simple question. Whose voice is this really? Not what is it saying. Whose voice is it? You will be amazed how often the answer is not mine. It was never mine. The second is this: name the program. When a familiar pattern arises, the anxiety, the withdrawal, the self-sabotage, the numbness that arrives just when closeness is offered, do not fight it. Do not berate yourself for it. Do not add a second layer of suffering on top of the first by saying, "Here I go again, what is wrong with me?" Simply name it. Quietly to yourself, say, "Ah, this is the program, that is all, that is everything," because naming it creates a tiny space between you and the pattern. And in that space, for the first time, there is room for choice. Where before there was only reaction, now there is a breath, a moment, a doorway you never knew existed. Can you feel the difference? Between fighting a pattern and simply seeing one? They are not the same thing at all. And when you have done these two things, when you have noticed the voice and named the pattern, then something beautiful becomes possible. The third is this: find one blank piece of wood. Like the carpenter's son, find one area of your life where you have been building from an inherited template. Just one. Not everything at once, one. And ask yourself, honestly, gently, what would I build here if the choice were truly mine? You do not need to answer that question tonight. You do not need to reprogram decades of conditioning in a single sitting. You do not need to have everything figured out by morning. The first step is simply seeing. And if you have been listening, truly listening, you have already taken it. You know, in Bangkok there is a temple that houses a Buddha made of solid gold. For centuries it was covered beneath a thick layer of clay, disguised to protect it from invaders. Everyone who passed it believed it was ordinary, common, nothing worth a second glance. And then one day a crack appeared in the surface, and through the crack, gold. What is golden in you was never destroyed. It was covered, layer by layer, year by year, program by program, not to harm you, to protect you. The clay served a purpose once. But you are not under threat anymore. And the cracks you are feeling right now, the discomfort, the questioning, the sense that something in your life does not quite fit, those are not signs that you are falling apart. They are signs that the gold is finally showing through. You are allowed to let the clay fall away. You do not need to hold it together anymore. It is okay to let the cracks widen. What is underneath them has been waiting a very long time to breathe. Remember the carpenter's son. He did not burn his father's workshop. He did not throw away the tools. He did not rage against his inheritance. He simply picked up a piece of wood that had no markings on it, and he asked it what it wanted to become. That question, that single honest question, was the end of his programming and the beginning of his life. You are holding that piece of wood right now, this moment, this breath. No template, no inherited design, just you and the honest question that changes everything. You were never broken, you were programmed. And there is a universe of difference between those two things. A broken thing must be fixed, but a programmed thing only needs to see the code. And you are seeing it, right now, in this breath. The anxiety you have carried since childhood, that was a program. The belief that you are not enough, a program. The way you hold yourself small when life offers you something large, a program. The voice that says, "It is too late," a program. And the one who is hearing these words right now, the one who felt something stir, the one who is beginning to understand, that one was never programmed. That one has been here all along, patient, quiet, waiting, untouched by everything that was layered on top of it. You have permission to put down what was never yours to carry, not with anger, with gratitude for what it taught you, and then with freedom. So tonight or tomorrow morning or whenever the old voice returns, and it will return because it has been speaking for a very long time, I want you to try something. Instead of believing it, smile at it, gently, the way you would smile at a small child who is repeating something they overheard but do not understand, because that is all it ever was. A child's recording, playing on loop, in the mind of someone who has finally grown old enough to hear it for what it is. You are not that recording. You are the silence behind it. You are the awareness in which it plays. And that silence, that awareness, has always been free. It was free before the first program was installed. It is free right now. It will be free tomorrow and the day after, and for every day of this life that you are lucky enough to live with open eyes. Be well. Be patient with yourself. You did not build these patterns in a day. They will not dissolve in a day. But they will dissolve. They are already dissolving. The very fact that you are here tonight, listening, feeling, questioning, is proof that the awareness is waking up. You are not at the beginning of a long journey. You are at the end of a long sleep. If something in this reached you tonight, if you felt a moment of recognition or a crack in something you have been holding together for a very long time, leave a word in the comments. Just one word. The first word that comes to mind. You do not need to explain it. You do not need to tell your story. Just one word. So that the next person who arrives here, late at night, wondering what is wrong with them, can scroll down and see that they are not alone. And remember, you were never broken. You were never broken. May you walk forward gently from this moment. May the programs lose their grip one by one, like old leaves falling from a tree that is ready to grow new ones. And may you build something beautiful with the blank piece of wood that has been waiting for you all this time to finally pick it up.